All right, welcome to the Orange and Blue Crew episode 4. A little later on the recording, we had, hey, sometimes life happens, so we had to address those things. And then, of course, last night, our trusty confidant, Mr. Reek, was present once again for a Knicks game. Unfortunately, another L though. So does
Yeah.
that makes you 1-1 in your last two, or
Yeah.
did they? What was the last game? Was that the Pistons
They
game that you were
lost
at?
the Celtics.
I went to first game with Celtics, so I lost
Ah,
Celtics.
okay.
Then Zion
The
lost
Pelicans. Oh, so you're
Pelicans.
0-2. Ah, so you're
No,
0-2.
You're
no.
0-3.
Last night,
Oh, right,
Steph
last night.
Curry,
Last night. Yeah, so you're 0-3.
0-3.
You're
I,
0-3.
I guess
So
I'm the problem.
yeah, stop going. You need to stop going. That's
Also,
the issue.
we went to the Bucks game 2 days before Christmas,
That's right.
So
and we
yeah, and
lost
then
that
and
one
then
too.
yeah, and then the one you didn't go to, that's when we kicked their ass. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm
think
definitely the problem, but I
yeah.
don't care. They can't get no,
Yeah,
if
I
they can't
think
figure it out my few games. They need to
unbelievable.
figure it the hell out.
Anyway, so a little late on the recording on this one. Life happens, but we're back with episode number 4. This one, we are going to be focusing on last week, so we won't be discussing the well, we can talk about the Pistons game if you guys would like. I'm not opposed to it, but mainly personally, I wanted to focus on hold on, let me go back. I got to refresh my memory because it has been a little bit. We usually crank these out right after they happen. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to focus on the Sixers and the Celtics game, and then like maybe dive into the Pistons game only because it was so wacky. Um, but that's up to y'all. We'll cross that bridge when it's time. But for sure, we will certainly be starting off our discussion today with that Sixers game, which was our first game after the All-Star break, on the road, and still relatively. I mean, not relatively. I mean, we're literally missing two of our three best players, so still shorthanded. But compared to what it has been, three. Oh well, three. Are you counting Mitch?
You got to. He is
I'm
I've
on
been
not.
the
counting
I
Mitch since
I
they
I
told
don't
us
know.
that he's coming back.
I don't
I,
know.
I wasn't, and then they said he's coming back, and now I start counting.
Fair enough. I'm still in the camp of Hartenstein is better than Mitch. No disrespect to Mitch. I think Hartenstein's better. I understand why you might have your thoughts and feelings, but that's just me. I think Hartenstein is a really really good player. I think he's better. And I think he was better
I'm
in
leaning
the
toward
playoffs
that way
last
too.
year. Right.
I
Yeah.
think
I
so. I
I
think I'm
was
starting
saying
to
we
lean
should
that
have
way.
started him last year in the playoffs, but I digress. But this game in particular, we went in with our usual our usual five as of late. Achua, Hartenstein, Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo. And Bogdanovic really had his breakout game with the Knicks as far as like his first really good game since joining the team. He had 22, 6 of 6 from three, played 24 minutes, shot 13 shots, 8 for 13 from the floor overall. And this was a game where I really thought like, okay, now if we can get Bogey settled in, like maybe we can just weather the storm for the rest of the season. Like at least if we play 500 ball for the rest of the season, we can finish like hypothetically no less than fourth, or ideally no worse than the 4 seed, right? Wouldn't be ideal in terms of avoiding the Celtics before the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's kind of my thought. But I mean, we took it to the Sixers. Obviously, they don't have Embiid, but they did have Buddy Hield, who they recently acquired. And he only shot 5 for 15 from the floor. He did make four threes. He was 4 of 9 from three, but he was 5 for 15 from the field. Had 14 points, 6 assists. And Maxey actually had a good game too. He had 35 on 24 shots, played 40 minutes, but we ultimately won by 14. Uh, I was pretty pleased with this performance. Brunson didn't have his best game. He was 5 for 18. He had 21. But I was really this game kind of gave me some hope and some confidence with the way Bogdanovic played. And again, I know I preface this by saying I'm a lot higher on Bogdanovic than you guys, just because I've seen what he can give potential borderline contending teams in the past. I know he's older than he was since then, but I just have that confidence that his experience in those moments will be a huge asset for us. It's been a bit of a rocky start, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I think this game kind of gave us some hope. So it was a nice win. I want to know your guys' thoughts on the Sixers game from a week ago.
You're up, Jai. You go.
Um, I was trying to gather my thoughts. I'm trying to remember the game. But I think I remember saying later on that it was the best coached game by Tibbs post Grimes trade because I saw him use. It's obviously way easier to use Bogdanovic when he's hitting every single three that he takes. But I saw him I think he made a quick adjustment to go with like a 3 guard lineup when the lead was getting cut into. And I thought that was the exact right thing to do at the time, because without Embiid, at certain times, Nick Nurse can play the Sixers very, very small because they have a lot of wings that are versatile, and he likes to use them. Sometimes in places where they shouldn't be, and I think Tibbs recognized that and was able to give them a good counter, and that game never really got dangerous, even though Maxey in the second half came to play a little bit.
Yeah, they did start to make that push. They did go on that little run to kind of make us think a little bit.
But yeah, we took care of business. That was a good win. And then the following game, I feel like, was one of his worst coach games, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, I think it was a good win. When I first saw the lineup come out, I'm just not a fan of Precious replacing Randall in any of these sort of configurations, because you lose so much with points, and it's almost like going with, I mean, and I think he's done it as well, like going with Hartenstein and Sims, or Sims and Achua. You can't do that. Achua, although he scores some points, although Hartenstein scores some points, I'm not really sold on them playing together. It just doesn't look right. And it's not, from a stylistic perspective. I mean, you just got 2 centers playing out there, and it looks ridiculous. And you're not going to get all of the points you want or the rebounds you want, because there's not enough rebounds to get. Although they played well together to a degree here. Hartenstein played a small amount of minutes just because he was just getting back into it. But I do have to say I was impressed by Bogdanovic. Who wouldn't be? I mean, he hit 6 damn threes. And then, I started to get really excited about what could happen. I think that from this game, what excited me was the potential for Bogdanovic to start in place of Randall. You guys can remember, I might have sent out the tweet on this game, but that's not the tweet, the text on this game. But that's the thing. Like, you have to replace what Randall's doing in the starting lineup, and Bogdanovic would be supported by defense in that same lineup. You would be able to play Bogdanovic and Josh Hart at the same time with Hartenstein to get the rebounds, and now you can support him pretty much in the same way you do with Randall if Randall was here, because Randall's not setting the world on fire on defense, but at least he's in the right position when he's out there, and he's able to grab a rebound. And I think Bogdanovic can play some defense on a guy, or you could at least hide him in places where you're hiding Brunson in the same regard. Because I think DiVincenzo and having two defenders, 2.5 defenders out there with Hartenstein, I would say, is a third defender. Hartenstein plays a great job of anchoring the defense in the back, but he's not Mitch, and you guys should be ashamed of yourselves for saying that man plays better basketball than Mitch on this Knicks team. But I know that Hartenstein brings other qualities, like he can actually put the ball back in the basket if it's not a dunk, or he can he can grab some rebounds or slap the ball out. But when Mitch is playing dominant level basketball, this team looks extremely good. And I think we'll see it again if he's able to come back this season. Who knows what happens in the offseason if it all blows up and that we go in some different directions. But Mitch at the helm of this team, with Mitch and Randall, and you put OG in the center. First of all, we haven't seen that yet. Like Mitch,
Yeah.
Randall, OG, DiVincenzo, and Brunson on the court at the same time. We haven't seen that. And yeah, DiVincenzo looks great in that but I think it can even get better. Because now I'm telling you, I'm not afraid. I don't care what Boston does if we got Mitch out there, unless KP is going to shoot 100% from three. Because
I
I
think
don't care what
Boston
happens.
is a big weakness for Mitch, though. I think
Mitch
that's
can't.
where,
That's the issue.
yeah,
That's his
that's
kryptonite.
where my,
And
that's
no,
where my, yeah.
mhm.
Go ahead.
That is his kryptonite. That is his kryptonite.
Well,
But
that leads me.
I want to see him out there. I got to see it first before I crown Hartenstein as, we got to pay him and keep him and let go of Mitch or try to say, let's see Mitch out there with OG Anunoby, Randall, Brunson, and DiVincenzo shooting threes, where the teams have to pick their poison and box out Mitch Robinson at the same time. Pick your poison on Randall, pick your poison on Brunson, and box out Mitchell Robinson. I dare you.
Well, that leads me to my next point. Before I make that next point, though, I will say I don't think we're necessarily even in a situation where we have to pick. I really do. I will say, for as much as I do have admittedly a preference for Hartenstein over Mitch for other various reasons. I'm just not a fan of guys on offense that give you nothing. I think basketball is at a point where you really do struggle when you have guys like that. Mitch has shown times where like he's got a post game or he can do this or that. It hasn't been consistent enough for me personally to say I'm confident with rolling him out as a starting center every game. And he also fouls like an idiot still. Him and Jaren Jackson are like distant cousins. They just commit some of the worst fouls ever. But that leads me to my next point though, where with our injuries and everything, I think what we're lacking is positional size right now, because you're looking at our starting backcourt plus wing is Brunson, who's 6'1" on a good day, and you're starting really two 6'5" players. Like DiVincenzo and Hart are both, and DiVincenzo might be a generous 6'5". So that's where
I think you're generous both on them, because in what universe is Josh Hart 6'6"?
right, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think even in that, and that's what leads me to my next point, where good win against Philly, but then the game that didn't break me, but was very frustrating. And you guys know I was very active on that day because again I was working on that Thursday, so I didn't really get to watch too much of the Sixers game. But I was locked in on Saturday on the Celtics game. I wasn't working; it was a Saturday night, and I love when the Knicks get um, the standalone primetime games on ESPN on TNT because it just reminds me of where we came from. Like I just have vivid memories of you know the Knicks didn't get national TV games. I remember just some nights it'd be my dad watching Stephon Marbury and Eddie Curry, and I'm like, oh my
And
god,
Zach
like
Randolph.
yeah, and I'm like, oh my god,
Oh,
these
believe me.
guys stink. But now we get real national TV games, and that's just incredible to me to see. But this game was very frustrating to watch, and this is where I think again the positional size and the lack of consistent scoring. Because even Josh Hart, as much as I love Josh as a guy in terms of his effort, I mean he was out there that entire fourth quarter on like one ankle, like he was really going through. And Thibs just didn't take him out. And I'm obviously not in the huddle, but I would argue that Josh was probably in the huddle saying like, "Yo, don't take me out." So I respect that. He's a warrior and he goes hard. But the thing with him is his aggressiveness isn't consistent enough for me to fully believe that, like I said, I think we need to play 500 or so ball the rest of the way to feel really good about our chances. And Josh just isn't aggressive enough consistently. And it's frustrating also because I've seen him be aggressive. I've seen him be a scorer, but for whatever reason, he just sometimes he'll regress into like getting open looks that he won't take or getting chances for drives where he won't be aggressive on the drive, and he'll drive but he's not driving to score, he's driving to pass. So ultimately, when you look at this game, when you look at the box score, obviously Jalen Brown for Boston had 30. Tatum didn't even have that good of a game. He was 2 for 8 from three. He only had 19 points. But of course, what was I talking about during the game? Closing out on Porzingis with your hand down. Jericho Sims, man. Jericho Sims really hurt us defensively that game because he's not smart enough yet to be able to guard a KP. I don't think he understands that. I mean, he's only this is second year, and I don't know if he's really matured to the point where, like in the Big 12, there wasn't really. I mean, there's no Kristaps Porzingis in the Big 12, so he's closing out with his hand down, and it's like, bro, you're guarding Kristaps Porzingis. If you close out with your hand down, it's going up and it's going in. And he made 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4 is going to kill you, especially from the center. Drew Holiday and Derek White. Derek White was efficient. He only shot 8 shots, but he was 3 of 5 from three, which hurt us. And Drew Holiday was kind of just Drew Holiday as a whole has just been kind of he's still good, but I mean I think he lost a little bit of a step. Um, this year, but ultimately I think it was Jalen Brown and KP that really killed us. Specifically that third quarter, I believe they were 9 or 8 for 12 from three in that third quarter, and that really killed us, man. And also what killed us was DiVincenzo 4 for 12. Brunson did everything he could. I can't get on Brunson. He was just his typical self. But DiVincenzo was 4 for 12, 4 for 8 from three, but 4 for 12 from the floor isn't really going to cut it. Hartenstein only played 24 minutes. Again, like you said, working his way back, dealing with that sore Achilles, which is something that we're going to have to traverse. But another issue for me was Alec Burks and Bogdanovic. Burks was 3 for 11. Bogdanovic was 2 for 7. Bogdanovic had 8 points. Now, I also think that Thibs had a very strange rotation where Bogdanovic just didn't play the entire first quarter. Burks didn't play the entire first quarter. And then you're kind of keeping them in there for these extended stretches in like those, second and fourth quarters where it's awkward. I think those are two guys where you got to get them a touch in the first quarter. I'm not saying they got to play, the second half of the first quarter, but I think you got to get them a little more love than that. And Bogey was really forcing, I think, because of the situations he was thrown into. Burks he was 1 for 7 from three. That's never going to cut it. So all in all, and then again, we did show life in the second half. We went on that run, but if you guys remember what I was saying on Saturday, like we're down 17 or 19 at one point, and we've got a lineup with Jericho Sims and Precious out there, and it's like, look, man, I know Tibbs is a defense guy, but when you're down 17, you got to score. And Bogdanovic, for all as much as we kill him for his defense, he wasn't that bad defensively on Saturday. Like I don't
think it even matters.
I can't.
Yeah, that bad. You're down 17.
Yeah, you're down 17. So at that point, we need some scoring. We need some points. And I don't think Tibbs, like you said, Jai, I think he had his best coaching performance, arguably of the season, on Thursday against Philly, and then followed it up with, I think, arguably one of his worst of the season against Boston. I don't think he was necessarily outcoached by Joe Mazzulla in any way. I think the Celtics just did what they normally do, where they're going to take a bunch of threes, and you run into a buzzsaw when they're making a bunch of threes, and that's what you saw in the third quarter. They made, I think, 8 or 9. I can double check here in a second, but they made about 8 or 9, and a lot of them in succession where we're not scoring. So it all kind of adds up. And I just think that this game was one that we could have stolen had we gone to a more scoring oriented lineup a little bit sooner than we did. Reek, I know you have some strong thoughts about this game. I'll let you
Well, strong thoughts indeed, because I was sitting in there and I was watching Jalen Brown just annihilate this team. And he was it was almost like he was just playing pickup. You know how you go to play pickup maybe at the Y or something, and it's a guy that played D1, and he's really not even playing that hard. He's just making every basket. That's how it looked. It just looked like it was a bunch of old dudes in the Y, and Jalen Brown was just running up and down the court, bombing over anybody. And I think they made a lot of dumb decisions, like you were saying, about Tibbs with his coaching and his rotations or whatever. I do have to I can't really fault him for not playing Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. Alec Burks looks completely lost out there. Again, they placed him into the same position that he was in when he left here. Now, if you guys remember when I know Jai remembers this, we talked about it, but when Alec Burks was here and he left, they had him playing a backup point guard. It's not his job. It's not what he does.
He's a two.
Don't bring him out here trying to have him bring the ball up and watch Bogdanovic take awkward, forced shots just to try to get himself going. That's not going to help anybody. Then you also, you're thinking that I think Thibs had in that Sims Precious lineup, Thibs had Josh Hart defending Tatum, who's having an off game, and Precious guarding Jaylen Brown, running out on threes. And I'm like, that's just stupid. I don't even know why you would do it. That didn't make no damn sense. It's like, Tatum's not even trying to score, and you got Josh Hart trying to push him down low, which doesn't matter. There's nothing Josh Hart's going to be able to do to stop Tatum from scoring the basketball. Why not put Precious on him so that he can get to the rim to get the ball back and allow Jaylen Brown to fight against Josh Hart? It's a closer size discrepancy. I don't know. But, a lot of these things can be alleviated. And I think and that's what I don't want to necessarily put so much pressure on Thibs, because I understand trying to get the guys into the rotation. And you have to allow, I think in certain circumstances, Thibs wants to see that the old them would arrive in a particular situation. So I gotta keep the game steady in the beginning. So I'm going to keep the guys out here just that are going to play defense. I know Brunson's going to score for me, and I might get a pop out or three on DiVincenzo. So I want to keep these guys in front of me for a second. But then I'm going to bring the offense in waves, and so then I'm going to bring in Bogdanovic. But Bogdanovic has just been awful. It's just been awful.
He's had really the only
outside
good
of
game
that
he had
Philly
was against
game.
Philly. Yeah,
it's just been awful. If he can hit 3 shots, now we might be on to something. And I think that he has to, what Thibs is, the problem is he has to stagger the two of them. I'm going to stick with it. This isn't going to work until you put Bogdanovic in the starting lineup to replace Randall, because now you get more balance coming off the bench. And now you got to trust Miles McBride. You didn't bring in anybody to replace the ball handling you lost when you lost quickly. You signed McBride to the 3-year deal. You gave him that little bit of money, which is good, and it keeps him in-house, and you're rolling him out there, and he's performing. But again, he's not a ball handler, but he's going to have to be the ball handler.
I think he is, because I remember, if you remember ironically, the Philly game in January, I think that's the best game he's played for us, and I think that was where we gave him that confidence. I don't know if maybe his confidence has taken a slight hit. I can't know, because we're not in the locker room. But ever since, like you said, they're trying to reduce, because they're trying to. I think they're trying to, like you said, run Alec Burks as the backup point guard as opposed to Deuce, and let Deuce do more of the scoring. I think Deuce is a much more natural point guard than Alec Burks, because Deuce has played point guard his whole life. He played point guard in college.
But I'm gonna tell you what's not point guard about him. His ball handling. When teams apply pressure to Deuce, bringing the ball up the court, that's trouble. He can't get us into offense. He can't really handle that one-on-one pressure coming up the court, three-quarter court pressure. He struggles, let's just say. And I think Thibs finds that and just trusts that Alec Burks can go into a scoring mode quicker than McBride can in those positions. But I don't want to digress into all of that on Deuce, but I think that's where some of the issue lies. I think you got to let Deuce be himself and let him struggle through this time now of being that primary ball handler for that second unit. And, when he gets in trouble, don't take it away from him and let Alec Burks be a scorer. I think you still got something in there. I tease that they're done, but I think they still got something in the tank. This Boston game, it was exciting to watch. It was fun to watch. We had opportunities, but it's just at the end of the game, and I'm going to touch on something that I'm seeing resurfacing at the end of the game, when you see, when you see the teams turn the ball over to their main guys to finish, we do have Brunson in that position, but his size definitely causes problems, especially when the refs aren't making the calls for him. And that's the
That's where
only
you
way.
need the OG, the Randall.
Yeah, that's why you need a bigger guy coming down the stretch with Brunson to get some of those calls to substantiate some of those fouls that they're good, because they're going to foul guys. Like Tatum finished the game. Jaylen Brown hit another three to sort of ice it, but when they needed a few buckets, it was just Jaylen Brown being 6'10" in the lane, and it was just too much. There was nothing you could do about it. He'll get
Well,
the
there
foul.
was also, if you remember, a couple weeks ago, there was like a smear campaign against Brunson with everybody saying, "Oh, he's the biggest flopper in the league," and refs are gonna start paying more attention to it. And ironically, since then, there has been. I mean,
Yo,
he gets
they're
nothing
just
now.
they're pounding them, pounding them. Yeah, so that was it. That's what I got
But
on that
Brown and
Celtics
Tatum,
game.
despite their size, they get a lot of calls to where Jaylen Brown isn't performing better than Jalen Brunson. I don't think he has in the last 2 seasons. But he's still getting calls like a top 7, top 8 player in the league. I think that's what makes him a more powerful player because it looks like, and it's not just the Knicks, it looks like when people play the Celtics and people play the Thunder, they're afraid to really contest these shooters because they will get to the line no matter what. So I won't say much more about that, but that's just one of the things I've noticed with the odd officiating of the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Thunder.
Yeah.
Hey, you can call it what it is, man. It's bogus. I think
Yeah.
I think I think I think, and this is maybe a separate topic. I think the Knicks being good scares people because we haven't we haven't been good for like like since 2000. But I know the mellow years, but that the mellow stuff died so quickly, and no one really took our front office seriously that I think people were kind of just waiting on like, okay, once Melo's done, this is over. But now I think now that we're showing some competency and like some more likely than not some like sustained relevancy for the next maybe decade or so, I think that kind of scares people. I'm not one who thinks that sports are rigged, but I do believe that owners have interests and the league has interests. And I think that because we weren't just bad in like 2015 to like 2019, we were comically bad to the point where we became like a laughing stock so forgotten that now that we're back, I think it threatens people, and I don't think people want that. So, but anyway, I'll let you finish your thoughts on the Celtics game, Jack.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add to what you said. I was talking to a friend yesterday, who's a Lakers fan, and they were saying that when growing up, they didn't know that teams didn't make the playoffs. Uh, like because the Lakers were always so good, they didn't know that teams made the playoffs. And that brings me to 2021, to where I overestimated how big of a deal it was to make the playoffs because the Knicks never made the playoffs. And so that's why it was such a big payoff in 2021. But also like as that continues, as we're like going forward as the Knicks, I feel like the team culture is also becoming that to where playoff is a given.
Mm-hmm.
We're gearing up for what we're going to do next. And that's what has one thing I want to the theme for today, the thoughts I wanted to bring into this podcast was to take a deep breath and take a step back and look at things for the way they are, right? When we're talking about uh, the way I paid attention to OG Ananobi's last time he talked to the media because he said a couple interesting things that made me think about the way the Knicks are handling these injuries. OG he said um, he said that we're gearing up to make a run. And in his weird way, he doesn't really say much, but he was pretty much saying that he was excited for what the Knicks are going to bring when we start putting the pieces back together. Isaiah Hartenstein should be out right now. He is not playing. This is one thing I want to bring up about the Celtics game is that with Hartenstein on the floor, I think he has a 128 defensive rating, which if anybody knows, has pays attention to defensive rating, that's about 15 more than it should be for just a decent defender on the Knicks. Because single game defensive rating isn't a great metric to begin with. Before the Knicks, our good defenders range from 110 and 115. He's at like 128 on the floor for us since coming back since January 20th, which is when he aggravated his Achilles. So he shouldn't be on the minutes restriction. He should be out. If the team was as pessimistic as the fans were, Randall, Mitch,
they'd be in
and
Albuquerque,
OG,
they'd be in China.
yeah, it would be over. They would be scratches. If this team wasn't ready to make a real push, they'd be doing the whatever LeBron James did, the experimental surgeries in China. So, I think that what's coming for the Knicks, especially with Burks and Bogdanovic, who I was even just yesterday was finished with. These guys on the season, despite their last 8 performances with the Knicks or whatever, are shooting 40% from 3 on the season. When shooters can be shooters,
Yes.
40% is incredible. It's like, 40% is game changing. We had one 40% shooter. The last year was Brunson.
Now we got 6.
Yeah, now we have 6, I think. Yeah, at the time of the trade, we had 6. That first year we went to the playoffs, I was talking about, we had 3. That carried that roster to the playoffs, to the 4th seed. So I think that Burks and Bogdanovic are veterans and they're 40% 3-point shooters. I don't think that them being on the Pistons has inflated that. Shooting is shooting. Maybe their points per game can be messed with on the Pistons, but for a 40% shooter
You
is a
can shoot
40%
it, you can shoot
shooter.
it, man. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. So and that's like that's pretty much what I have been thinking about when I think about the Knicks is that if it really was over, which is what it feels like, I think that there would be a lot more signs.
Well, I
But
think I just think that just because we're closer to 8 than we are to 1 right now. And I think there is, I think just to be realistic, you do have to be a little concerned because I wasn't even sweating the play-in like 2-3 weeks ago. But now that it's been, under 500 ball now,
losing streak.
yeah, now that it's been a lot of bad losses and we can't seem to beat anybody that has a winning record, the play-in is starting. I wouldn't even say starting, but it's it's kind of starting to become a real possibility. Like if we don't turn this thing around, and I don't know when that'll be, but I think it's just really unfortunate. Like literally, like we beat we hammered Miami, and it was just like literally once we beat Miami, that was like our last feel good moment. I can't remember the last time I felt really good about the Knicks. Like I know we beat the Sixers, but they don't have Embiid, so it didn't really feel the same. Even last night, would have loved to beat Golden State, but like just couldn't get over that hump. But I just feel like the play-in is really starting to become a possibility, and I really want to avoid that. The only issue is who knows what's next. Like I know OG, they're talking about him. He's cleared to shoot now. I believe I saw Begley tweet out the other day that he's cleared to shoot, not cleared for contact or anything yet, but he's cleared to shoot. And I know one thing that you talked about last week, Uncle Reek, was the Chris Webber thing. How Chris Webber kind of went through the same thing with like the dislocated shoulder and not getting surgery and trying to come back. And we don't know how, like, I don't know how severe Randall's dislocation was. And once you start trying to play through those kind of injuries without getting surgery, it can get dicey. And I know it's his off shooting shoulder, but Randall's a guy who plays through a lot of contact, especially this year. He hasn't really shot a lot of threes. And then let's just say hypothetically, like Randall doesn't have confidence in his shoulder come playoff time. Then we get jump shooting Randall. And we've all seen what jump shooting Randall looks like, especially in the playoffs. And it's not good. So
Yeah.
I think we're entering. I do want to maybe open up this segment to maybe like where do you guys stand maybe on a scale from 1 to 10 on like a panic meter of sorts? Because I'm not saying necessarily that we have to be panicking, but if 0 was I'm not worried and 10 is like, oh my God, it's over. Like, where do you guys stand on that?
Go ahead, Dad.
Okay. Well, 0 to 10 panic meter on the state of the Knicks. I guess it's just the way I'm built from all my history of disappointment with the Knicks. This is nothing, honestly. So I'm going to say this is about a 7. You just got to keep rolling.
7 is a lot. 7 is you're almost 6.
I'm talking about 10 is
7 is high.
it. 10 is it. 7 is above
7 is
average.
like, yeah,
7 is way higher.
But you said 7, and then you followed up by saying,
yeah, with the way you prefaced it.
Yeah, the way you prefaced it.
I'm not going to say a 1. You got to be realistic. Here's what I'm saying. Here's how I'm doing it.
7 is high.
Here's how I'm saying it, though. It's because, first of all, our starting 3, our center, power forward, and small forward are out injury wise. So that's going to get you at a 5 already. The way the guys are playing right now, if we're looking at it right now, and you have to go into the playoffs with this, and you have to go into the play-in and all that, without the rotations actually being established, players not really playing up to their potential because there's no real, focus on what the team should look like in these last 8 games, then I'm going to give you 2 more points on that. But I'm not necessarily worried. Because if I'm going to have to go in at a number, hear me out. I'm going to say it's a 7 panic meter. But with that said, now you have to take a look at, do I believe that they're going to stay that way? Do I believe that Bogdanovic is, like that? I believe in Thibs. I believe that he's going to figure out a way to get the best out of what he has. So I think that eventually you're going to get these guys back in. You're not going to, I think Randall is out. That's first of all. I think he's out. So that's why, again, it's high.
Rest of the year?
Yeah, I think he's out. I think he's going to come back and he's going to try to play and he's going to hurt his shoulder again and he's going to be out. And so you just need to have to, as a total, you're going to have this high and then you're going to have this drop off again when he's out. But I think what is going to happen is that, so yeah, there's a high level that there is there should be panic because Randall's going to come back and he's going to be hurt. But I believe we're going to have OG Anunoby going down the stretch. I think that we will have. And I think that if we have him with a Bogdanovic that can provide something and a better organization with Burks into the second unit, where Precious Achiuwa is in the second unit, Precious, I don't think should be a starter. I think Precious should be in that second unit, getting as many minutes as he can handle, but I think you need to come out and punch people in the mouth with offense. So yeah, there is panic because if Mitch comes back, which I think will happen now, right? I'm confident in that. And I'm confident that OG comes back. What that team's going to look like, I have to believe that Thibs is going to bring it together because he's going to get 2 valuable defensive pieces. So yeah, I'm really, there is panic. It's at a level 7, and I'm being honest about that. But it ain't 8, 9, or 10 because I believe that Thibs can put it together with the defensive pieces he has, and using Bogdanovic the right way gets us, makes us, we get a first round series win without Randall, with Bogdanovic playing as a good offensive option for us. I don't think we can get beyond the second round with Randall out. And I think Randall's going to be out. So yes, that's what I mean by it. So I'm going to be realistic and say that it's time to panic, but I think it's a controlled panic because because I believe Thibs can get Bogdanovic going. I don't think he's gonna to Fournier him. I think he's gonna figure it out. Yeah. I'm at a 7
I
because
think
it's time to panic.
he's too good to Fournier him because Fournier's cool. He was cool like when like we played him, but he's not. I think Bogdanovic he's contributed more. Like he's contributed more to teams that win. So like Fournier, like his best years are with what the Magic, like, and
Orlando
they suck.
Magic,
Yeah,
and they got him in Boston, and he fizzled.
he didn't do nothing. But
Yeah.
go ahead, John. I want to know where you're standing at on the panic meter.
When like I always go by the first number in my head. Sort of the way like I don't know if you guys like watch food reviews on TikTok. They just like throw out a number.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
What
a
does that
4.
even mean? I'm
Like
gonna do 7.7.
7.65. Like what gave it the 0.05? But I felt a 4 instantly. The inside of me felt a 4. Because I'm flipped. Uh I think that come playoffs game 1, Mitch, OG, and Randall will be in the lineup. I don't know in what capacity they will be, but I do believe that they'll all be in the lineup. And when it comes to the only person I do worry about the ramp up, ooh, the door is open. The only person I only don't worry about the ramp up is Mitch, because we've seen Mitch come back from injury completely unconditioned. So, but I don't think it doesn't stretch past like a month. I think that game 1 of the playoffs we'll get a fully conditioned Mitch and whatever. If the scenario happens where Randall is actually injured, happens, and we go into the playoffs without Julius Randle, and we're not getting Julius Randle back at any time, I'm not considering it a postseason. Like if we don't have Julius Randle, it's a scratch.
Oh yeah,
So
if we don't have Randall, we probably have the same. Like if we don't have Randall, but have uh like OG, I think our ceiling is still the same as last year.
Yeah, I don't think we win without Randall, and I think that the narrative around Randall is changing, and it should change because Randall is a great basketball player. And he's not just a person that has gravity. Like I think people talk about him like, oh, look at the gravity of Randall. Even if he doesn't play well, he will attract defenders. He's more than that. He has earned the the what's it called? The reputation of somebody who can score at any time. And that's why defenses have to key in on him like that. And I think that Brunson and Randall are powerful as a duo. And I think that everything Brunson has given us without Randall is a bonus, not something, he's carrying this team the same way he was when Luka went down in the playoffs. Like it's just Brunson is an incredible player, but he is a stronger player when he plays next to Julius Randle.
Yeah.
So that's why my panic goes way down. First of all, OG, the way OG was playing but the games when he was already hurt, they were already talking about that he was questionable before games with the elbow. Leading up to the Heat game, we already knew the elbow was going to be a problem. The way he was playing in those games, the way he was putting the offense together, getting in the mid range, making the right decisions at all times, that was incredibly exciting for me.
Yeah,
and I think that we didn't get it big enough.
OG's got that. Like I would say it. The wild card with OG is he really like every year. If you look at his number, he's gotten better every year. I know he's not like 21 or 22 or something. I think he's 25 now, but
24.
yeah, so he's 24. So he's still on the younger side of his career. But OG is one of those guys where he's added to his game every year. And in Toronto, it was a situation where like I think literally the starting 5 for Toronto was like 5 of like the same guy. So like it was just very awkward. So I think in a situation like this, he's that wild card in terms of like we know what he's going to give you on defense, but if he takes like a leap, because he was showing it, he was showing that he's not just everyone talks about his corner 3-point percentage, but he's not just a corner 3 guy. Like I've seen him, attack and get downhill and hit mid-range jumpers and get to the lane, post up smaller guys. Like he's really got a lot of stuff to his game that I like. I've always liked his game.
Yeah.
So he's kind of in that.
He worked his way into showing us a lot of his Kawhi Leonard.
Yes,
It's a lot that,
Mhm.
you don't want to just jump to Kawhi Leonard, right?
right,
But he showed us a lot of that. He showed us
right.
a lot of that on that stretch in January.
Hmm.
And, so it was good.
As they told me, RJ Barrett was a budding Kawhi Leonard, and I've seen in 8 games that whatever. Oh yeah, 14 games with OG Anunoby. I've seen more Kawhi Leonard in those 14 games
Who told
than
you
I ever
that?
saw on RJ Barrett. Twitter. Twitter is disgusting
Twitter don't
sometimes.
know anything, yo. I've
Yeah.
been so me and my boy Chris and my boy Chuck, we call RJ layup because he just could he's got no touch on his layup. He had no
Zero.
you never know if he's gonna make a layup, and he's never gonna make one with his right hand. But if he makes his layups, he'll have a good game. So we would call him layup. But like, man, Kawhi, I don't know how anyone ever
Yeah.
saw that.
That's
With
the
all
in,
due
in that
respect,
year too. They were talking about Kawhi. It was at the same
because I
time they're
think
like
he shot
Kawhi
like
and PG.
42% from three, and people got excited.
He's horrible.
Yeah, it
He's a
was it was
horrible basketball
ridiculous.
player, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
So so yeah, that's why I'm at a 4. Because I believe in Julius Randle. I believe in OG Anunoby, and Mitchell Robinson being back uh is a great bonus. I believe in Mitchell Robinson too.
But
So
you going at a 4, but we're saying similar things though. If Randall isn't there,
I
it's
don't
it,
think that
it's a
Randall's
it's
not
a
going to be
panic.
there.
You
I don't
you,
think that Randall's not going to be there.
you think
Yeah,
Randall's
that's
gonna
what I'm
play
saying.
through this? Okay.
Yeah, because I believe in if I believe in Julius Randle, I believe that he's a tough, and I believe that he can make the adjustment. I saw a video with him and Johnny Bryant, or a picture with him and Johnny Bryant working on the post game, fully back to the basket instead of lowering that shoulder into defenders and getting offensive fouls. Like I see them. I feel like Johnny Bryant, who's our like whatever
Associate head
our
coach.
assistant coach, associate head coach. He's like in the coaching staff, the distinguished assistant coach.
Yep.
He's a very smart guy, and the players love him.
Yeah.
And
He coached
I
Bogdanovic where he need to get on the damn job.
I think he coached Burks as well.
Amberts.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I think that with Randall, with Johnny Bryant, I think that Johnny Bryant's one of the guys that got Randall's whole game together
Mm-hmm.
in last season. That's someone that Randall credited him time and time again. So with them in the lab, it looks like I've seen a lot of pictures of them working together um, on whatever social media. So I think that I believe in whatever they have planned because I believe that there's a plan.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Personally, for me, I'm probably at a 6. Like I said at the beginning, I am worried. Like I'm admittedly a little bit worried just because we are closer to 8 than we are to 1, and then you want to avoid the play-in. You don't want to be in a position where you're fighting for your life in a essentially a one-game playoff. Like if you can avoid it, you need to. And I just don't like our record against 500 teams compared to under 500 teams. I don't think we have necessarily the hardest schedule, excuse me, in the world outside of it's just unfortunate. I think we do play the Celtics one more time, and I think we get maybe Cleveland. I want to say one or two more times, but like we are in a weird spot. Like I talked about our positional sides, where we're really small in the backcourt, but also Precious is 6'8". So like we're just really generally running a really small team, and there's nothing wrong with running small lineups, but we don't have when you play a Celtics, Jalen Brown is as quick and agile as a 6'4", 6'5" guy, and he's 6'8". Jason Tatum is as quick and agile as a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 5 guy, and he's 6'10". Porzingis is 7 feet tall and he's making every three. So I'm at a 6 right now. I'm starting to get intrigued by what happens when guys come back because what does OG look like coming? Like these are very odd injuries. Like it's not like you
Yeah.
know ankle, sprained ankle, broken ankle, whatever. Like it's
It's
not like
upper extremity.
yeah, these are like upper body injuries that are a little wonky. Like it's not like a sprained AC joint. Like Julius Randle dislocated his shoulder. That's a pretty big deal. And I know a lot of people who growing up, they would pop their shoulder out all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
once it happens once, it happens even easier the second time, and then after that, and then after that. So like, do we run into that situation with Randall where he's just gonna keep popping his shoulder out? Do we run into a situation with OG where like he won't be good until he gets Tommy John? Like, who knows what's gonna happen? And then Mitch, like you said, Jai, like he's gonna have to play himself into shape. I think Mitch has kind of gotten unfortunate where like he's gotten pretty severe lower body injuries. And unfortunately, when you have those injuries, you literally can't do anything. So yeah, you end up coming back, maybe 10, 15 pounds heavier. And like you just gotta get yourself back into your playing shape. So that's just kind of been unfortunate for Mitch. But I'm at a 6 right now. I'm not, incredibly worried, but I just like I am worried admittedly, but I do think like maybe if we can just manage to steal a couple against some above 500 teams, whether they be in the East or the West, um, it will go a long way. Because if we're just gonna be that team that okay, we'll beat up the bad teams, and then anytime we play a decent team, we'll lose. That's not really a winning recipe. So basically, at this point, I'm just trying to avoid the play. That'll be considered a win, even if we get in at the 6th seed. That'll be considered a win for me because even if we do get in at the 6th seed, you're still not on the same seed line as Boston. So
Yeah,
you would
especially at the
avoid,
6.
right, and you would avoid Boston up until the Eastern Conference Finals. If you can make it that far. So I'm at a 6. We got Uncle Reek at a 7, even though he sold it like he was about to say like 3, and Jai's at a 4. So I think we're all, like I said, I think we're all relatively in a similar place. But understanding that we're at that point in the year where there's gonna need to be some urgency. Um,
OG Anunoby, just a couple of checks. OG Anunoby is 26. I think I
okay,
said
26.
24.
Yeah.
He's 26. And yeah, we do have we got Boston one more time, but it's at the penultimate
Oh,
game.
April, yeah.
April, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so I don't think that's
how
gonna
much?
matter
It
much.
won't matter much.
Yeah,
But
and then we got another trip to the Raptors.
okay.
Just so we can see what
Mhm.
that looks like.
And we have a big game against Orlando. I think that's going to be a turning point. I think we might see somebody come back. I think that's next week. I think
That's March 8th. Hey, guess who's gonna be in
yeah,
the house? I picked that one. I
yeah,
feel like you're right, John.
yeah.
We do have
I think
Cleveland
that's
on
going to be a
Sunday.
big game. That's a loss. Sorry,
Which one?
but still,
Cleveland on Sunday.
I'm going to tell you that right now. Cleveland is rolling and they're fake. I wanted to talk about fakeness a little bit too,
Uh-oh.
because I think that you sometimes you can't stop a fake team. We've had a lot of fake shooting performances against us in the last few weeks. I think Jalen Brown started that game 9 for 11. We had somebody start the game 6 for 6, and the
Is
next
it
game
fake
I
if you're
forgot
not
who.
guarding them though?
I don't even think that we're not guard. I've maintained this the whole time. I think that we're playing serviceable defense with what we have. Porzingis. My roommate's a Celtics fan. I see some Porzingis, over his shoulder sometimes, whatever. Porzingis is not bombing 25 footers off
At
the catch
other arenas and other
consistently.
games.
No,
Yeah.
I
he
don't know.
can
He
do
be
it, but
chucking, man.
against the Knicks, 3 for 4 this time. I think 3 for 4 in the first game. It is at a different clip and a different confidence level, and it's just a distance for me. There's not a hand in his face, but there's a body there. If he's making it against other teams, there's no bodies there.
If you were to give it a
Um,
contest grade on 2K, what would you say? Like, is he hitting like 60s or is he
Against
hitting
other
like
teams, I'd say
17s?
like 27 to 35.
Okay, okay.
Against the Knicks, he's hitting 66s.
Hitting the
He's
60s
hitting
tough though.
those.
You gotta have like gold deadeye for
Yeah, that's
that.
he's got takeover every time he plays the Knicks for the whole
Yeah,
game.
he's starting the game with
So
take.
so that's what I feel like is happening. I feel like the Denver Nuggets were fake and the Miami Heat were fake last year, but there was nobody to stop them. They were unstoppable fake forces.
I wouldn't call the Denver Nuggets fake. I think they're about to
It
run it
was
back personally, but that's another
for the
conversation.
championship. Oh,
That's another conversation though. We don't have to dive into that. But I think the Nuggets are pretty ridiculous.
We slapped the taste out of their mouth the other day. Last time we played them.
Yeah, but that was also like that was like their last game of their road trip too. And like teams, if you look at the numbers, teams on their last game of their road trips are like very bad. Like very bad, very like negative
Bro, I don't
differential.
want to talk
Oh,
about
trust me,
logic.
I'm not.
I want to
Listen.
talk about we slapped them. We
Oh,
slapped Philly.
Yeah, that's the
oh no, listen.
that
Hey,
was the
I
worst
was.
loss that Jokic ever had in his career, by the
Yeah,
way.
Yeah.
trust me.
So
I know a couple Nuggets fans, and I was all over them. I'm just trying to kind of reel it in now that we're struggling and trying to rationalize it a little bit and just be like, okay, well, that was nice,
Listen,
but
let us get healthy, bro. Let us get healthy. Like I was on other
yeah,
conversations
yeah,
about this too, man. Is we have to just remain realistic about what we have in front of us. And I think John talked about that in some of his commentary earlier. You just gotta weather the storm. You gotta be realistic with what you got in front of you. And that's why I'm talking so much about Bogdanovic, because I think Bogdanovic and Alec Burks on the court at the same time is just never going to work. It's never going to be a good situation. So even if we get everybody back, you got to pick between Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. One of them's not going to be in Thibs' tight 8-man rotation. One of them ain't going to be there, right? We know Precious is not going to be there. We know McBride's not going to be there. When it comes down to it, you need to get Bogdanovic in a position so that he can be prepared to replace Randall. He can go for 20 consistently. Let him make up that 26 or 25 or 26 that we're missing with Randall being out.
I agree that we do need to start Bogdanovic, because with I really like when you said that earlier. I immediately wanted, like, I was like nodding, like, yeah,
Yeah,
like
you would
that
have
would
been
be
playing. You would have put that in on
that's a
2K.
yeah,
That's my 2K brain. I would
yeah.
have like, look, I need Bogdanovic to be the 4, and I would have played that to Jai knows because I'd have been right in his room playing 2K.
Yeah, Achua with the second unit with Burks, it just makes more
Come
sense
on,
than
man.
Bogdanovic starting the game with offense. I really do like the concept of that lineup, and I don't know why we haven't gone to it. Like I said, I think even Bogdanovic's minutes are just so weird. Like he won't play the first quarter, then he'll play like 10 minutes of the second quarter.
Yeah,
Then like sometimes he'll come in at the end of the third, sometimes he won't. Like it's just like even if you want to bring him off the bench, can we get him in before like 6 minutes?
yeah.
Like we just got to get him some early touches. Don't bring him in with
yeah,
Burks.
yeah,
Get him in before. I think first move should be, like Deuce and Bogey. Bring him in
Yes.
or whatever. Deuce
Bring
and
him in
Bogey.
with the
Bring him in
defender.
and take off. Take off like Hart and Precious. You know what I mean? Like that should be
Yeah.
the move.
Or put Precious. You go a smaller lineup with him and Precious if you have to. But let's let Precious, because you need somebody that's gonna be able to fight out there on a bigger body, and let him be hidden on somebody, because other teams have that deficiency as well. Other teams come out there with guys that can't score. Put them on Bogey. That's okay. Put Bogey on them. But get the guy going when he doesn't have to come out there. It looks like, if I'm watching these games, he looks like Fournier. He looks like he's got to get shots off before Thibs take him out again. And it's like, bro, why don't you run a couple plays
yeah.
for him?
Yeah.
And he's very angry out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more. He doesn't strike me as like I think he's really frustrated. Like I think he's really because he is struggling. This is uncharacteristic of him. He's usually in his career when you look at like when he really kind of broke out, he's good for 15, 16 a game at worst.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
right now he's even last night. I remember when he took that three where he was trying to draw the foul, and you were like, "Yo, Bogdanovic is stupid." I was like, "Yeah, it looks stupid when it doesn't work because I know what he's going for, but it
Yeah.
looks stupid when it
It
doesn't work."
looks
And you can,
stupid.
I thought it was stupid because I had that side on that one, because if Brunson is getting destroyed, what makes you think you're gonna get a ticky tack
3-point
you're gonna come in
combo.
the game and get a 3-point foul call
Not
from
gonna happen.
28 feet out? I was like, oh, he's just playing
Stupid.
frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see even in the games, he's frustrated with himself, and the whole situation is just he needs to settle down. But Thibs has to figure out he got to reel him in a little bit. He got to that's probably where Johnny Bryant's going to come into play and just try to find some way to calm him down into what Thibs is trying to run. It's like, yeah, we're giving you the ball, but you got to make some shots. He's missing layups.
yeah, he's missing layups.
He's missing 5-footers.
His
He's missing everything.
yeah, his patented. He really likes the kind of sidestep three,
Mm-hmm.
And like if he has the angle, he'll even try to bank it. But he's been missing those short, which to me isn't really because it's not like he's playing a ton of minutes. He's not really like it can't be a legs thing. I think he's just pressing and he's kind of alligator arming things, forcing things, and it leads to a lot of short misses.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think I have faith that he'll work it in. But I think they have Alec Burks miscast again, and I don't have faith that they're going to change that. And they're just gonna he's just gonna go by the wayside. And there's really not a lot of space for him here anyway. It was nice to have him back, but it's not the opportunity for him to be playing. They should buy him out, to be honest. If they can give if they can get something, they can let him play somewhere else because he's not going to be an answer for us. When it comes down to it, and he knows that. He's not going to be a secondary ball handler. They're not even going to go with that because Brunson's going to play 47 minutes. Period. He's just playing.
I think that when it comes to having shooters, though, I think that when the team, we keep saying this when the teams have to, like it's fantasy. I think that the last playoffs really changed roster construction. And I think that even just, I remember we were, talking about it, Dad, when we were frustrated with the Heat series, talking about why, you were asking why Tibbs didn't even try to put Fournier in because Spoelstra was using Duncan Robinson, even though he hadn't used him for the whole season and the whole playoffs before
Whole
that.
season, whole playoffs, nothing. Yep.
And he came in and gave shooters. So I think that just having tools like that doesn't discount Alec Burks or Bogdanovic, because I think that's what every team is going for. The Cleveland Cavaliers signed Max Strus and George Niang.
Mhm.
So
Right.
Max Strus has been shooting the worst field goal percentage in the league.
But
So
I agree with you 100% in terms of roster construction and how rosters are going. But we're talking about Tibbs here. And in that same conversation, you just said it in Miami, we needed 3-point shooting in that series. We had the historically best 3-point shooter in New York history sitting on the bench. And he refused to put him in the game. So that's why I just don't think Alec Burks is I think in his mind, Alex Burks is already gone. He's just trying to,
Well, he did say at the end of last game he should have played Burks more in this one.
Yeah, I think he's saying things that he thinks he should have to say, but I think Burks is gone. I think he's gone. In terms of
I don't even want to see him anywhere. He's not good anymore. He had a couple of fake games in Detroit, but he's cooked. If what we're getting from him this 1 for 7 and 3 for 12 nonsense, hey, we already got Dante DiVincenzo for that. But at least Dante will give you like 25 every now and then. I mean, Burks is killing us, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. I think that's the thing with Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic we have to net more from him after giving up Grimes and whatever else we had to give up to get him. It was a great get, and it still has some possibilities, but Thibs has to use it.
Yeah, who knows? We could obviously, like I said at the beginning, won't address the Pistons game. I think we all just kind of want to forget that it happened. Like obviously we won. All the jokes about Dante DiVincenzo's form tackling, not really trying to hear it, considering we quite literally lost the game on like the worst call ever. So I'm not really too bent up about that.
They gave us a game back as well.
Yeah. That's why they rejected our Rockets.
They didn't give us anything. That was poor officiating, consistent with the poor officiating that has been plaguing the NBA this season.
Yeah. Well, they rejected our Houston plea just to give us the Detroit game. So I'm not greedy. I'll take what I can get. But and then last night we played the Warriors, which we'll talk about in the next episode. This episode is going to come out if not tonight, on Friday as we're recording this. It'll come out Saturday morning. I've been a busy guy because we got the NSIC tournament in South Dakota. Big time of the year for your boy right now. We have the NSIC tournament, then the Summit League tournament. So I'm going to be a pretty busy guy these next 2 weeks. But then after that, like, it's all over. Well, depending on who wins the Summit League tournament. So if one of the South Dakota teams wins, I'll probably get to go to March Madness. And either the men or the women, if either of them win or both of them win, I have a very strong chance of getting to travel to go to the NCAA tournament. So I am hoping for the best for that. We'll see. Fingers crossed, though. It could very easily be because if North Dakota is really good for the men, and we have a North Dakota team, so if North Dakota makes it, it'll probably be our North Dakota people, which would suck. But the South Dakota State women are like the best team by far. So if they take care of business, that'll be my one shot. And hopefully they're on the same bracket side as USC, so I can check out my girl Juju
Juju
Watkins.
Watkins.
She
Yeah.
is. I'm a huge fan of hers. I've been following her since she was like
They
a
got a big one
sophomore in high school.
yesterday.
Yep, over Arizona.
Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of hers since she was like a sophomore, so I'm locked in. So hopefully that all works out. But any last comments, or are you guys ready to wrap this one up?
No, that's it. Bogdanovic has got to be moved to the starting four while Randall's out.
Yep. Maybe it
I'm
could happen
thinking-
on Sunday on ESPN primetime, which I love the Sunday showcase games. That's my favorite time of the year when we got all the primetime games on Sunday. I love those.
Well, I want to stamp something for
Okay.
my last thing. I think that we should going forward try and stamp something.
Okay.
Um,
What are we
I think
stamping?
I think the Knicks will finish top 6. I think that's going to come with 49 or 50 wins. And on April 15th or whenever the last game is, we'll have a pretty clean injury report, a fairly clean injury report.
I'm going with that. I like that stamp.
I can agree with that. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm not gonna. I'll stamp it with you. I'm hopeful though, because it's just a matter of I just don't know. The upper extremity injuries in a sport like basketball are very because they're not as common. Like there's not like maybe like a hand injury or like wrist injuries, finger injuries we've seen, but like this isn't like baseball where like if a guy hurts his elbow, okay, he's gonna miss like a month. Like in basketball, it could be a month, it could be like 6 months. Like who knows?
Yeah.
But I'll stand with you on that. Plus, I just want to see it happen. I just want to see us fully healthy and back to beating the Nuggets and Heat by 30.
Imagine if we could. Imagine if right now we exist in a world that Mitchell Robinson is starting and Isaiah Hartenstein is coming off the bench again.
Then I would tell you that we're probably where we should be. Like, look, I'm not anti-Mitch.
That
right?
would be.
So
That would be. Come on, man. Come on.
hey, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
That would be silly. That would be silly. I'm with you. I'm with you on the stamp, Jai. It just has to be that. But I do think that the whole Randall situation, like, because what I'm reading is that if Randall were to take surgery, it's going to be 4 to 6 months that he would be out. And so I think that trying to find a way for him to play competitively, because people cheat. Miami's going to cheat if we play against them. They, you know what I mean? They're going to low bridge that joker and play. They go test that shoulder for sure.
Oh. When you said chill, I'm like, huh?
Oh
like,
yeah,
what you mean by chill like this? Man, what are we?
They're gonna drop some. They're gonna drop some sandbags from the top of.
They're gonna get an anvil. Yeah, they're gonna drop an anvil from the rafters on some.
Hell yeah, they gonna figure it out. But
how did that get there?
I just can't wait to see how it happens. But yeah, hopefully we get a good March.
Yes.
End of March.
March is crucial. March, we gotta go. We need to win. I think 9 games is probably like because we play 14.
Yeah.
I think 9 and 5 in March will be perfect. That'll be the baseline for like that's a good month.
Yeah.
Not that
I think we get OG Anunoby back around that, like you were saying, Jai, next week. Because as soon as they post that he's clear for shooting or clear for contact, then he's gonna be on the injury.
He's clear for all basketball activities except contact.
Yeah, there's no contact.
We're in the ramp up right now.
Oh,
and as soon as he's cleared for contact, Thibs is playing him 48 minutes a game.
Yo, he ain't never coming off the court. Yo, Josh Hart played 47 minutes last night. 47
on one leg.
50. 47-50
on one leg.
Yeah, something crazy like that. He was. Oh my God. So yeah, Thibs is gonna play him. Yeah. So that's it.
Yep. All right, that'll do it for this one, episode 4. Shout out those Montgomery Cougars, about to win the second sectional title in school history. Unfortunately, it could be the third, but I didn't get the job done, so shame on me. But shout out to those Montgomery Cougars, man, about to take care of business against Monroe. Big way too. They're up 60-35 right now with like 40 seconds left. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
they're taking care of business. That'll do it for episode 4. Thank you all of you who are tuning in and checking us out and listening to what we got to say. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we got plenty more episodes coming, man. It's a long season, and
Oh yeah.
it's just heating up. I mean, we've seen the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. Let's try and get back to those highs. Thanks
That's
for
right.
watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.